As promised, we get back to Runuk today to meet up with Lane Vizsla and hear what missions she has for us. That and more on this episode of the SWTOR Escape podcast from newoverlords.com. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 455. And with me, believe it or not, is my co-host, Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Something different for this week.
We're switching it up here. I've got Seema on. Seema has me invited. She allowed me to come on her show.
We're both here. Yes. And we're on
Runuk. How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty good. We've had a pretty mild winter so far, but lately it's gotten cold. And then tomorrow and Saturday, it's supposed to be really cold. And I don't know what that means exactly because today was really cold. But I guess tomorrow will be colder. So I know a lot of people have worse weather than I do, but it was like 3 degrees today.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be hot cold here tomorrow too, but then a little bit warmer after that. But yeah.
In fact, my 2 cats who don't even like each other that much, they're kind of snuggled up together right now, which that's really an indicator.
That's cold.
But I've had a good week in SWTOR. Let's see. Last week I finished up Galactic Seasons 3, yep. meaning that I finished up the achievements. Yeah, the meta achievements. So I'm done with that. I've actually appreciated this week having like a little bit time off. Like I saw someone getting a Galactic Seasons achievement, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to count that this week.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a little bit.
Although
like
you still get them, I still see them popping up, and I'm still getting the game analysis.
Right.
Currency.
Right. You still get. Yeah.
Blah, blah,
I still got them too.
And then I think,
but they count for 0.
Count for nothing. I already got it all done. I got got it all.
I mean, literally they count for nothing. There's no credits, no conquest points, no nothing. But so you don't have to pay attention to them. They just let them happen as they happen. So yes, Galactic Seasons done. I enjoyed talking about the possibilities for Galactic Seasons 4. I also did.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. There's a thread out there.
Yes.
The feedback that they're collecting.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to add our feedback into that.
Yes, we should. Mostly this week I've been looking at the dailies so that we can talk about them tonight on Runuk. So I've done them several times now, and we'll talk about that. So I spent some time doing dailies. We just got done with our ops night, where tonight we went and we were going to go back to R4, but we had one of our tanks couldn't make it tonight because of issues at work. And we were lucky enough to get another tank to fill in for us, Quinn, who's a guildie. But because it wasn't our regular tank, instead of doing R4, we went and did another thing, which was that place. The robot
Gods
place.
From the Machine.
Yes, thank you, Gods from the Machine. Which actually went really well.
Yeah, it did. We were killing it. Yeah,
and that was fun. It was fun. And then earlier this week, during MFN, we had done Duxon, so we've done 2 of the recent ops this week, which is interesting how things happen. But yeah, that was fun too. So yeah, that's sort of my week, my cold week. How about you, Max? How are things with you?
Also good. Also doing those kinds of, well, we're going to talk about it a bunch tonight. So I was also doing it this week. I was on Runuk quite a bit, doing the dailies, doing the heroics, doing a bunch of that, scoping out the world boss. Although I didn't do it, although I can hear you can solo it. We might do a separate episode on that. So still spending plenty of time. I checked out, but I did not fly with the GSF group on Friday night, but I saw that they were going again on Friday. That was really cool. So plenty still going on Star Wars wise, but yes, I am also done as we said last time. So I've got you can sort of see up here. I've got all the achievements done. Everyone still has a little bit of time to finish that up. That finishes. In fact, you can always go up to open your window in the upper left, look at Galactic Season, and the season ends in 32 days is up at the top of the tab there on the Galactic Season tab. Luck of the draw. So you got a month to finish up, to either finish the season, and then if you're going for it, you better be pretty far along, but you've got time to finish both getting the rep to legendary and getting 100 daily objectives complete to get the overall meta achievement. And all you're getting for that final meta achievement is one extra customization. You already get a couple customizations, but one additional customization for the Phalanx droid, your little companion there. So we've got all that, which is really cool. It's fun to see it. I do need to make room, though. We got a month before it's even done, and then we'll have time after that before I need to worry about it. But as soon as they start to announce what's coming next, and as soon as that next season launches, you have to have claimed everything out of your Galactic Season tabs, or they'll go into mail. It's fine if they go into mail
already.
Yeah, see, I haven't yet, so I got to clear out a bank tab, and I like to keep it all in one place on one character. So I'll do that. If they go into mail, though, we saw this last season, those mails expire. So don't let them go into mail and then wait. I think you still got 28 days after that, even. But claim your stuff. Get ahead of it. Don't forget about it. You get distracted. A month goes by. You might lose some of this really cool stuff. And there's a lot of great things in there.
And there's stuff in there that you might. I know when I waited to the end to claim everything, and there were a few things, I don't remember what they were, but there were a few things where I like, oh, well, I could have used this to do something easier than the way I did do it.
Right.
So
a lot of
some of it's useful.
I think you can get three Fey droids to 50 just with the tokens that you get out of Galactic Seasons. So check it out. There are great things in there, certainly. And you get a bunch of cartel coins and things like that too. But we already talked a whole bunch about all of that. We will talk more about the dailies. That's been my focus, and I recorded it all. So we're going to talk about that. What we haven't talked about yet, although there is a little bit of it, is the news. So let's get into that.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
First up in the news, getting bigger and continuing discussion. There is a press to get people to get in there and test on the 64-bit client on the PTS. So there's the thread that's going. Jackie's asking for additional feedback. She sort of consolidated it into an overall thread. The big thing with testing a client update like this, like 64-bit, is they have a relatively strong test suite, and they can test on a lot of configurations, but they cannot test on every single motherboard and every single processor combination that's out there. That people are still playing SWTOR on, from the most recent machines to machines that are probably 8-10 years old. So if anyone and everyone can just get in there, load up the PTS client, if you got a sec, and do anything at all, visit a planet, visit a couple planets, do a daily, just shoot some Minox. I don't care. It sounds like that would really help them out and would really be a good thing to make sure that 64-bit client is solid, because it's going to be a great thing. It's going to be a great thing for all of us, and I want to make sure that they can get all the testing that they need. We'll see when we get it added to the game, but it's gonna be a fun thing to have available for us all, and really good. I want to reinforce this because I think this is a good rebuttal to those people that pop into whatever social network that you're on and go, is SWTOR still? Isn't this game dead? Didn't this game die 5 years ago? No, comic book guy, it did not die, and in fact, they're investing in new tech. They're updating the user interface. They're adding accessibility features. They're updating to a 64-bit client. Can you believe they're putting that kind of investment in? Seems like you wouldn't do that unless you had a multi-year roadmap where you're going to make this kind of thing available for quite some time going into the future. And that's what makes me excited to see this kind of work going on. So appreciate that, BioWare. And it's everything. This like a little comment you can have in your back pocket when someone says, is this game dead? You can respectfully say, no, in fact, they're doing a lot of new things, and it's in a really good place. So that's that. What else we got, Seema?
Yeah. So what else do we have? Let me get back to our notes here. Oh yeah. So Bryant Wood posted, he made a post about outlining Galactic Seasons 3. and the parts of it and what Galactic Seasons is in general. But the main point of the post was to ask people for feedback. And it's actually quite a number of people gave sort of reasoned responses. So it's a pretty good read. But basically, if you have feedback about Galactic Season 3 and possibly what you might like to see in Galactic Seasons 4, go check out that thread and respond to it. So one of the themes that people mentioned, a number of people mentioned, is that they would like a companion who speaks Basic. I was surprised at how much that came up because I never really thought about it myself. I mean, I realized that they didn't speak Basic, and I kind of know why, right? Because they don't have to get a voice actor then. But yeah, that was a thing for many people. So that's valuable feedback right there.
That is the key. What kind of companion feedback out of the people that were in our Discord and responded to our discussion, which I didn't even know that this thread was going on when we were doing our discussion, was, hey, can we also have it be a Force user instead of what we've had the last few who have not been Force users? They've been sort of on the side.
They've all been like underworld types.
Which is cool, but and I like having those available, but having a Force user would also be cool. And we threw that back and forth in our threads of what if it was even a choice and you could have like a Jedi or a Sith and you could sort of choose between them, and that was sort of built into how the season worked. That might be really cool. Appreciate everyone who jumped into our Discord. That's newoverlords.com/Discord. We throw questions in a little question area every once in a while for both our podcasts, both our shows. We had a handful of people that were having a really detailed, good discussion. We ended up awarding everyone a cartel coin code for SWTOR that was part of that discussion just because it was so good. So thank you, everyone, and really appreciate it that you were all in there doing that. Final bit of news that is out there and got published was events for February. I think it's just Pirates and Bounty Contract Week. So usual once every 2 weeks, every other week we get one of the major events comes back and circles around. So that is Pirates and Bounty Contract this week. Avast me hearties, the pirates are coming back to Dantooine. Community news. Shout out to the chat room. We've had a lot of good chat going on in there. Some help getting us the podcast kicked off and started tonight. Appreciate that. Join our Discord. As I said, I've got that. I have a bullet here that says that. Join our Discord because it's a lot of fun in there. newoverlords.com/Discord. We do that kind of SWTOR talk pretty regularly. We do giveaways every once in a while. And we talk a little bit about our other podcast as well, Behind the Games, which talks about all kinds of games and brings on developers and creators that are focused in various areas of the gaming industry that are really, really interesting to hear about. So we get to hear about some new games. We also get to hear about how it all works and how development works and how creators and artists and music directors and sound directors and studio heads are creating new studios. And we're really having a lot of fun with that one too. So appreciate that. Appreciate everyone who's in there and everyone that's following us on Twitter, at the New Overlords, and Instagram and Facebook, and live with us in our chat room on Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. Central. So thank you all. And we will also talk to you in the post show just a little bit, chat room. But for now, let's go visit Lane Vizsla. I was gonna.
Bet you didn't see this coming!
I got lazy. I tried to get. I cut. In fact, I've got one set aside. There's some good Lane Vizsla voice lines, but I didn't have time to get to it tonight to turn it into a thing. So no Lane Vizsla to kick off our little segment here, but we're gonna talk about Lane Vizsla. We're over here on Runic. So what happens is when you finish the end of the Runic Showdown on Runic story, you had the big battle. You had Rickon and Hedda Cole and the showdown between Shae Vizsla and Hedda Cole and the aftermath of that. What comes after is Hedda Cole bugs out. She leaves. Rickon goes with her. So did Sahar. And we went through all of that a couple episodes ago. Now we're in the
Did Rickon really go with her though?
Yeah, remember they were on the ship, and they were all talking on her ship as they were like leaving atmosphere.
But he is disappointed
escaping
in her.
Yes, yeah. There's the whole what's up and where's that headed is a whole mystery. It's a mystery. However, back on the planet of Runuk, that doesn't mean that all of Hedda Cole's entourage is necessarily gone. And in fact, we've got someone here on the planet holding down the fort and maybe doing a little bit of cleanup, getting a little of this hidden chain, getting a little bit of these extra clans that are there to sort of like causing a ruckus. And I can describe the ruckus. Causing a little bit of ruckus here on Runuk, a Runuk ruckus. And it's Lane Vizsla. So after you're done with the story, the showdown story, you get the lead in to go talk to Lane Vizsla. She's down here. Where even am I? I don't know how to duct maintenance area. The duct maintenance network. There's a little area down here. This is where it will lead you to. You go in this room over here and you talk to Lane Vizsla and you get to meet her. So she has a whole story. And then there's the story walkthrough of what she wants you to do. And it's relatively significant. So we'll talk through the story first. You can also do the dailies alongside the first time through of the dailies while you're doing the story. I didn't do that. And I'm not in a rush to get all of the dailies all done or get all the rep to legendary, although I do want to get the rep done. So I did it separately so I could, and in fact, I recorded it. I'll play a little bit while we're playing here. But yeah, so I did the story, and then it was long and meaty. So yeah, what was your impression of the story, Seema?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just surprised at how much there was there. I was expecting like one or two short cutscenes, and then it would end with like, now go look at the mission terminal and do some dailies.
Right.
But it was a lot more than that.
It took me, so here's the intro. So the intro, the first time you talk to Lane, it only takes about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. Then she sends you on missions. We don't know what's going on at first. She says, hey, we just got to get things cleaned up here. You got to go, do the various kinds of typical mission things. They're going to go kill a bunch of guys, hunt down some information, scan some things or whatever. But here's my second video where I went through the rest of just the story. So in addition to those 2 minutes, I was at about an hour and 15 minutes. So an hour and 15 minutes total. And I wasn't like, I wasn't going super fast. It could probably be faster to get through the story, but I also wasn't like lollygagging, looking around, watching the scenery. I was clipping along, doing the things and not sightseeing. So it's significant. It's big, and it's a good story, and it's a little fun side story. Lane's a good character. Ken Khan Harangir, that dude we'll talk about in a second. He's a relatively fine antagonist. And then so this is all kind of spoilers. If just heads up, we're going to get into it here.
Yeah.
There's where she's sending you and what you end up uncovering for what the Hrengir clan is there for and what they're doing. So you start off by, she says, you got to go track down some information, go, get some access cards and get me some information off these consoles. And you end up taking a prisoner that you get your first set of information from. And who was this prisoner? She was interesting. And you get it. You could kill her, or you could capture her. And I ended up capturing her, and it was kind of funny. And then I brought her back to Lane Vizsla, and Lane's like, yeah, Arla Hrengir. Everybody's a Hrengir or a Vizsla here. I've noticed there's actually another Vizsla that we'll encounter a little bit later when we get to the droids. But so Arla Hrengir is here, and you fight her. That's kind of sort of like the first fight that you get to, and you can either capture her or kill her. And yeah, when you get back, if you take her prisoner, Lane gets a little pissed. She's like, what am I going to do with this? Now I got another mouth to feed, and she's not going to tell us anything. What's the use of this? Like, she's like, why didn't you just kill her, please? So Lane's a relatively good character, I thought. And she's got a little bit of attitude. She's got a pretty good voice acting going on. She seems like young and fresh and raw, which is, I think she's supposed to. She definitely doesn't want to be in the shadow of Shay. She's Shay's cousin, right? Cousin?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So she's Shay's junior cousin, and she chafes under that a little bit. She's like, yeah, I'm her cousin, distant cousin. Just leave that. Doesn't want to be known for that. Doesn't want to be connected to Shay because she doesn't want to feel like it's nepotism. What's the nepo baby? What's the phrase going around these days? Yeah. So she doesn't want to be that over her head. She holds her own, I think, as a character and does pretty well. And then sends you off, and what you end up uncovering pretty soon after that first encounter and getting some information back is you track down what's been going on, is that the Hrengir clan and the main guy, Kerr, has been collecting parts and experimenting on basilisk droids. Besulik. How do they pronounce that? She said it a couple times. There's a Mandalorian word for the basilisk droids, which was a Besulik, I think it is. BES''ULIIK. So she says Besulik, and then they're the basilisk droids. And she explains, which I didn't know kind of beforehand. I don't know if was this common knowledge, but these basilisk droids are a major Mandalorian thing, or they are now, and I think they were before, but where not only are they just a useful droid that they can use as a mount and ride around, but they're kind of designed and programmed that they can form bonds with them, and they can like be friends with them, and be, treat them as pets, and they get really attached to them, and as such, they hold a place of honor in the Mandalorian culture. And Kerr Hrengir is like tearing them apart and breaking them down and ripping off pieces and experimenting and putting together new kinds of droids. And that really upsets Lane because it sort of goes against everything that should be happening with these basilisk droids. So that's the core of the story. That's the key, sort of the key plot point of you're trying to liberate these basilisk droids. You're trying to take out Kerr Hrengir and the Hrengir clan who are hanging around the planet. Lane was pretty sure that the Hrengir weren't on the planet just like messing around or hanging around or being cleanup crew for Hedda Cole, because that's not Hrengir's style. Hrengir count themselves as like royal, almost like royal lineage within Mandalorian culture, and everyone should bow down to them, and they deserve respect. And that's why they rebelled against Shay Vizsla and decided to join Hedda Cole, because Shay wasn't bowing down and wasn't treating them with enough respect from the clan heads' perspectives. So they were like, well, she doesn't even respect us the way she should because we're so awesome. So we're going to go join up with Hedda Cole. So that's one piece of why Kerr Hrengir and the clan is dealing with Hedda Cole and part of that group. The real reason they've stuck around, though, is not just to do the cleanup, but to gather all these basilisk droids and do their dirty deeds on that front. And then the one extra twist is that Kerr himself, which we did, so Lane doesn't find out that Kerr is actually here. She knows the Hrengir clan, but Kerr himself dirty deed duel with Lane's brother and killed Lane's brother in a bad way. So an honorable duel was called, and Kerr, dealt a dirty hand to her brother and ended up killing her brother in a non-honorable way. So she's got it in for Kerr. She hates Kerr. There's a little bit of a part coming up that I'm sure we'll discuss because it's a little bit debatable, and people have sort of I see this debated in general chat quite a bit. But saving the droids is number one. That's what Lane is all hot and bothered about. And then when she finds that Kerr is around, then killing Kerr is also gets added to the list. So let's look at the droids here, because this one little scene I thought was interesting, and again gives us a little taste of what's going on. So when we get to the first place where we see the Basilisk droids, that's when we get a holocall from Kerr. We get introduced to him, and here's Dek Vizsla shows up. There's another Vizsla here. There was some Mandos here who were trying to fight against and save some of these Basilisk droids. They got beat up pretty bad. Another bunch of the clan got killed, of like the good guys. That's why Lane sent us here. There's some Basilisk droids behind the screen here, and we can't get to them. There's nothing that it seems that we can do, although you've got a couple choices to either like try to save them or not. And then you go back to Lane and you say, well, hey, I got some of your guys out here, but I couldn't get the droids out. And she goes, well, you suck, basically. And she's a little pissed. She's like, yeah, you let them die. The droids, they got destroyed. You know what? You could have left the people and saved the droids. It would have been an honorable death for the Mandalorians to give their lives to save these droids. What's wrong with you? But she's got other things on her mind too. So she was a little bit angry with us. But then we also find out that it's Kerr is also part of what's got her hot and bothered. So what did you think of that? Obviously you probably made the same choice as I did, Seema, of
right,
trying to save the people and be honorable.
I kind of enjoyed how much they cared about the droids, and how, yeah.
Which, by the end, when it seems that we may get a droid pet out of this, I was kind of happy that they care about the droids so much. So we'll get to that. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but yeah, I think it's a fine little subplot and characteristic that these droids are almost companions, and they treat them as pets, and they form bonds. And I like that kind of background story lore going on. I think that's kind of cool. I agree. Yeah. So Lane's getting a little angry with us, but she then gets into, well, hey, this Kerr Hrangier is kind of a really a big problem. Let's also take him out. And she kind of then says, all right, well, what I need you to do is, then you do a little more mission stuff. Plant these beacons, track people down. We're going to do a little tech thing to try to find some where, triangulate their locations. And then she says, okay, we found Kerr. He's still here, and that's the last mistake he'll ever make. He says, I'm going to guide you, and you hunt him down. And here's where you can start to say, well, why me? You killed your brother. I'd think you'd sort of want to be the one there pulling the trigger. And it is a good question from a plot perspective. I think it's a fine answer that it comes up with, which is she's taking the leadership position here, and she's saying, I do want to kill him. And this is the voice line. It's coming up that I like, that I'll cut out of here. She said, but I've got a job here. I need to do what I need to do, but I can't face Kerr, especially not right now, not because I'm afraid or reluctant. Here's good. I'm angry. I'm vengeful. I have blazing hot rage boiling under my skin. So what she's saying is much too personal for me. That will derail what my job is here. It will be, I will be letting the overall mission down and letting my clan down if I go off, blindly follow my rage and go after Kerr in this way. So that's the way I took it. That's the way I spun it. Other people are saying, she's a Mando. It's kind of like cowardly. Why isn't she going after him? Why isn't, she putting herself on the front line? But I was fine. I was fine with my interpretation of this, which seemed to be the primary interpretation that was intended. What was your spin on this, Seema?
Yeah, I was totally okay with it. I didn't. I don't like the so and so wouldn't do that. They're a Mando argument in general, right? Because I feel like I always default to like they're individuals and they have upbringings and they react to things the way that they would as an individual, even though they might share certain beliefs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so am I. So I think it was fine. I think it was fine writing as well. It allowed us to have agency and go and do this thing and have our own fight with Kerr, which I appreciated, as opposed to like in Showdown where we talked about how we didn't get to fight Rickon, and I kind of would have preferred to get to fight Rickon, even if it would have like disrupted the whole flow of the story. I like that we get to fight Kerr, and we don't get to watch a cutscene of Lane fighting Kerr. So
there's that too. Yeah,
that's a piece of it for me as well. So we get to go fight Kerr. So where does that come up? It comes up in about another 5-6 minutes. We track him down into a bunker where he's got a bunch more of the droids and the droid parts, and he's wired them all up to bombs because he's that kind of bad guy. Here you get some really good pictures of both the Basilisk droids and the various parts and the stripped down chassis and things like that. So there's really some really good art in here. Here's Kerr with his smug, punchable face. And she talks smack about how he hates Shea Vizsla and because they didn't like treat him with as much respect as he thinks. Yeah, Shea denies us even the most basic respect. She can rot. So he's kind of a jackass in general. They're also kind of snobby, and they have a lot of like they show off their wealth all the time. But here he said, well, if I can't have these, then no one can. And so he's like, again, a relatively dishonorable move considering the idea of how important these droids are. He's wired this whole place up with a bunch of bombs and says, if you kill me, I'm gonna blow this place up. So we say, well, I don't care. I'm gonna fight you anyway. But we don't kill him, do we? I forgot about that. So we do get to fight him. Him and a reprogrammed Basilisk war droid. Wasn't a very tough fight for me, but I'm all decked out relatively well in gear and in a relatively good spec for soloing things like this. But I kind of just blasted the droid down, then finished off Kerr. He still escapes though, and I don't think there's a way for you to get him to not escape. You did get a choice right here. Pursue Kerr. So Kerr rockets, rocket boosts out of there. Back's got jets. And you get a choice to pursue Kerr or save the Basilisk droids. This time there was no way I wasn't clicking save the Basilisk droids because I didn't want Lane reaming me out again. So I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to save the Basilisk droids. Lane's going to kick my ass if I don't save the Basilisk droids. I would expect she also wants Kerr dead, but yeah, so fine. I stuck around and saved the Basilisk droid. So I don't know what happens if you pursue Kerr, if the Basilisk droids don't blow up, but hopefully they don't. Or maybe you try to pursue him and you can't, and then you still need to disarm the bombs. But what happened for me, which I hope either way, the final scene is you disarm the bombs because then Lane shows up and she's like, came to back you up. I just wanted to make sure that you had everything under control because you went out of comms. And this is where you get, if you pursue him, you do kill Kerr, Quinn? Okay, well, that's interesting. Then why didn't they just have us kill him? Why make it a choice? Because here's the thing. If one of the outcomes is you do kill him and he doesn't escape, well, then he is done. Then there's not going to be like part 2 of this story where we have another showdown with Kerr or Lane finally gets her revenge because he's dead now. They can't make that another chapter because there'll be half the player base or, however much of the player base that won't be able to play that content or that content won't exist for them. So then why didn't they just have us just finish him off? And I guess you get to make a choice. And I did kind of feel good about making the choice about saving the basilisk droids. I felt kind of smug about I was going to make the choice that Lane wanted me to make. Aren't I good? So there's that. But I did think that it was interesting that Kerr was still out there and that we might encounter him again. And now if I find out that he's dead, then we're not going to encounter him again. Oh well. So she does show up, and there was a nice little dialogue line I liked here, which was, "Hey, you all right? Comms went dark. Assumed the worst, so that's why I came to back you up." And my reply was, "What do you mean you assumed the worst? Me? What are you talking about? Assume the worst? Who do you think you're talking to?" and so I went with that, and she does say, yeah, okay, sorry, I shouldn't have assumed the worst. It is you." So I like that. You assumed the worst, huh? Right? Yeah. Well, sorry about that. Sorry. But this is the part then where you're all standing around. She said, "Glad you saved these." So if you go after Kerr, so Quinn, I'm asking the chat room here for people that are listening and can't see. If you go after Quinn, if you go after Kerr and you kill him, what happens next? Do you still save the basilisk droids as well? Did we find that out? Because this is the part where if you do save the basilisk droids at the very end of this little scene, as Lane is looking around the room, she finds a little tiny baby basilisk droid. And she said, "I didn't even know they made them this small. And you did such a good job." And I think this might even be in the follow-up. She's like, "Yeah, you did such a good job. Maybe we'll fix this one up and we'll give it to you." So if you go after Kerr, Lane has a personal moment where she realizes revenge isn't everything, and also one droid survived. Okay, so you still have the droid that's still alive, is the one little one. And they do say it's little, so the speculation was, is this going to be a mount or a companion or maybe a pet? So I'm thinking it's going to end up being a pet, because she makes the point that it's like some little tiny baby version of a basilisk droid. But we don't know, because you don't get it. You don't get it at this point. You do go back and you do get some emails from her that talk about, "Hey, I'm working on it. We'll see what we can do." But I haven't seen it yet. We haven't gotten it yet. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, if we are going to get it or when we are going to get it. But I bet we are. I don't think they would like set us up like that and leave us hanging. We better get something.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, but so there, even just talking through it. How long have we been talking now? 40 minutes. It's, or whatever, 20 minutes after all the news and everything. It's a lot of content. It's a nice little story, and it's got a big beginning, middle, and end. It's stuff. So when I think of what came in 7.2, the showdown on Runic, and that being the content, then there's this, which is again relatively significant content, and then, which we'll finish off here. We'll probably won't even talk about the heroics or the relic hunt or the world boss or the Datacron today. We're just going to go through the first set of dailies. There's a lot here. There's a lot here, which is great. A lot to do, a lot to come back to. The rep is something you will want to get into and grind, because we'll look at the vendor here for a second. I'm probably logged out of the game. But we've talked about the vendor and some of the cool things that are on there. So you're going to want to do the rep. You're going to want to get some of that cool stuff, get the Mudhorn mount and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm still discovering things now that I didn't get around to doing, because I was distracted by working on my gear and R4 and doing our ops stuff and getting OP-1 components. So you are working on it too, aren't you, Seema? You're working on the dailies and now have started down the rep grind. What are you thinking? What do you feel? You want to get, well, you told me
Oh, yeah.
though. Yeah, where are you at on the rep? Because you were looking at some of the other reps too.
Right. So I'm in the middle, I think, of friendly on the
Okay.
rep. And one comment I have about the rep, which I think is kind of cool, which is at first I was a little bit put off by it, but you get deco drops as you do various things on the planet. And you may or may not have enough rep yet to actually use the decos and add them to your collection. And at first I thought, no, I want to click on it now because I don't want it taking up a slot in my inventory. But now I kind of think it's cool that it's happened to me several times now. I think I've gotten like 4, maybe 5 decos. One of them even requires, I think, champion level. So it'll be in there for a while. But it's kind of cool because it's sort of like, because I could click on most of the ones I had so far, it's like a little bit of a, hey, you got this far. Click on this,
Right.
So I'm into it now with the rep.
And it is kind of banked then. That is interesting. It is kind of banked. It might draw you along as a player too, from a design perspective. If you got this thing sitting in your inventory and if you get some rep, then you'll be able to actually use it and it's just sitting there and okay, well maybe I will do the rep. Whereas if it's out of sight, out of mind stuff on a vendor somewhere that you haven't even looked at, you might not even discover that doing the rep for Roanoke would be a good thing. So that's cool. So let us talk about Starry Sabers is talking about how the dailies work and ways you can get around them and shortcut them. There are achievements around doing some of the stuff. There's hidden achievements on Runic. You may want to look into those. We'll probably talk about those next week as well, or in the next couple of weeks. But at the baseline, the reason you're doing the dailies is for both credits, I guess, but mostly for the rep. You get the daily resource matrices for any of the dailies. You get a pittance, a little bit of tech frags. You get a little bit of credits. But you're getting the rep. So this is the main way that you would be going about getting it. Why do you get a blue one for Patrol Runic? Oh, because that's the complete 5 dailies you can do once a day. It's one of the meta ones. So yeah, this is why you're going to do them, is because this is the way you're going to do the rep. But there are a whole bunch of them, and you don't need to do all of them. In fact, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possible dailies. You need to do 5 to do the daily, and then you need to do 6 to do the daily weekly. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can start to pick and choose. And this is what we've started. We don't have a definitive answer today, but we've started to do, and Medulla is in our AIE-guild.org Discord has started to do a little bit of analysis of which are the fastest ones and which one are easily repeatable. And if I was just going to come and do a few a day, what would I do to get them done? And which ones are stealthable? And there's a couple things that we'll get into definitely to kick it off as a tip, and then we'll go through just the dailies so far and the weekly for the dailies. I also did all of the heroics. I soloed all the heroics. We could talk about those. We'll probably talk about those next week though, because we'll probably run out of time today. But you get them on the terminal that's right outside where you talk to Lane. This is where it starts. But there's a couple other things going on at the same time. So this is what you want to think about. One thing you could do is you could look at the achievements and the hidden achievements and sort of like do those along the way. Another thing you definitely probably another thing you likely will want to do is what's called the relic hunt missions. So down the hall, in the room, in the abandoned bunker room, there's a data pad sitting on the shelf that kicks off the relic hunt missions. Relic hunt missions are somewhat separate. They're a one-time per character, and you do have to do them per character, and they unlock some extra abilities on the planet. one of the key abilities is to use these travel jetpack jump pads that are spread around Runnock. And from what I understand, I don't have it unlocked yet, but that is key in getting some of these done quickly and getting and being able to sort of like run around the planet from point to point and not have to like loop around. In fact, one of the heroics, and I'll just tell you right now, I think it's called Weak Link. The weakest links. There's like the strongest links, so in the weakest links, whatever that weak link one was, that was crazy in terms of trying to run around and find where you're supposed to go, and especially without use of the jump pads. Really, like, take a speeder. Okay, you're in the mining pit. There's where you need to go, right up there on that cliff wall. All right, I need to go 2 zones over. I need to take a speeder and go 2 zones over and drive back and wind my way through these back tunnels, and don't take a wrong turn and don't jump down to where the world boss is, because if you do, then you're gonna have to go back out and go around and go all the way around again because you can't use the jump pads. That drove me crazy. So I think I will not be doing that weekly again. But the other 2 weeklies were the other 2 heroics, the other heroic 2 and the heroic 4 were relatively easy for me. The heroic 4 was a solid fight. I will say that. So let's go through the dailies though. Pick up the relic hunt because there's stuff you will do along the way. And then to get the relic hunt done, the relic hunt may also need some extra guide type stuff going on because it's not, there's no like, a lot of it is not, hey, here's a quest marker, just go to the quest marker, where the big triangle is on your mini map and, click the thing when you get to, click the glowing blue thing when you get there. No, in fact, you have to read. You have to read the clues and either search around and figure it out. And I tried to figure out the first step. Go, here's where I've decided to hide out. Come and meet me. It's by this thing and over by the water. I'm over by the waterfalls and in the overlook. I'll be hiding out down low. I mean, up high. Wink, wink. So you read this. I went there. I searched around for like 10 minutes. I'm like trying to like jump around, jump on walls, and couldn't in that short amount of time at least, did not figure it out, and don't even know if I was in the right place. It looked like a nice little series of 4 waterfalls, and I looked like I was looking at all the possible places where you could have an overlook. But again, I don't know if it's a thing where you need to like go 2 zones over and go through some back tunnels and do some platforming. I don't know. So if I don't figure that out relatively quick, I may look at some guides. And there's some good guides out there for all of this, for the regular dailies, for the heroics, for the hidden achievements, for the relic hunts, and for the world boss. SWTOR, of course. Volk's got some, and then there are a few others out there. Let's do an overview of the dailies, though. General impression of doing the dailies around these pots, Seema, especially for you, because you've got the interesting perspective doing it as a healer.
Right. Yeah, so I found in general that there was a lot of going back and forth, but that reduced quite a bit once I started to get familiar and was able to sort of like, oh no, I'm not going to go that way yet because I know I have to do this other thing here. But I also felt like in doing these missions, even when there are a number of people around, the way the area is, it still goes pretty smoothly. Like you don't have to wait for mobs to spawn. You don't have to wait very much for items to spawn. Multi-tagging is very helpful here, as it is in other areas. And then you mentioned me and my healing spec. One thing that did really get me was I did do the droid daily a couple times. And this is a daily where you become a droid and then you have to do like a chase mouse droid, right? And you have to click on things, but you can't be near these lizards, traveling mobs, because then you fail. After you leave that though, you have to make sure that your companion comes with you. Yeah. Because I went running away and didn't realize she was hanging out by the door and merrily pulled like a group of It was like 3 weeks in a strong,
Yeah.
but it took me like a half an hour to kill them.
Right. Right.
Without Shay there. And I had to like heal myself to full like 6 times.
In fact, that even got a little bit more buggy for me. Shay really bugged out coming out of that mouse droid thing, and even dismissing her and bringing her back by it on itself didn't fix her. I had to like summon a different companion and then summon her back.
That's the only way I could get her to catch up, was to summon a different companion and then do some fighting and then summon her back. Yeah. Because I find I am I get kind of set in my ways, and I'm used to Shay.
Right.
I know what she's going to do first, and I know what she's going to do second.
Right.
And I know, and she seems like she's more help to me than, say, Faye or.
She knows what she's doing. She's got a good head on her shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah. I did find too that when if you find a big pack of mobs that also have a gold in them, that there's usually a way around them. I fought them the first couple of times I was doing them, and that also would take me a while. And I ended up like CCing things and healing my companion so she didn't get killed. But now I found you can just like back up a little bit, go a different way.
Yeah,
sometimes you have to back up quite a bit, but still, yeah.
I think that's true for the regular dailies. Definitely not for the heroics. You know, once you get to the heroics, part of the heroics.
I haven't done the heroics, but I'm fine with that because they're designed for more than one person. Yeah.
So, that gets to, I think, another good overview point before we sort of dig into each individual dailies is how hard are these, and how hard is the art of the fights on the planet.
Starry Saber says just dismiss your companion before you start the droid. Mouse droid quest.
Good tip there. That's actually not a bad tip at all.
Yeah.
With any of those kinds of things, if you ever do the mouse droid quest again, which I may not, so we'll get to that. But overall difficulty, what's your feel on Runic? Because I think it's sufficiently difficult. I mean, I'm in full 336. I'm kind of a butt kicker, so I could do all the fights, but I wasn't just like one-shotting stuff. Anything that's wasn't a strong elite or champion, I definitely was. I can kind of one-shot those, but
I think I was kind of, in my mind, I was comparing it to when the dailies renew on Osis, because that's the time I remember there was a little bit of a jump in difficulty that I had to start paying attention, or else my companion would get killed or whatever. The difference, though, between Osis and Runic is that I already have the max gear that I'm going to have. With Osis, we didn't have the max gear yet. So like you could say, oh, it's okay, it's hard because I'm going to gear into it.
Right, because we're still
but I don't know what's expected here, really, because like I already have the 336 gear. I mean, there's people who have higher gear than that, but that's as high as my gear is going to get. And someone who's coming in Quest 320s,
it's going to be
might
hard.
have substantially more difficult. Yeah, because it's not, syncing is not like how it used to be. So your gear does matter. It does affect your stats.
Yes, it does. And there's no syncing on Runic either. You're 80.
Right, because
I agree. And then again, we won't get too much into the heroics, but once I got to the heroics, I started CCing in every pack, and I don't think I had to do much self-healing, but I was definitely CCing every pack because I've got it and it's sitting on my bar, and why wouldn't I? And in the heroic 4, I was CCing. It's two strongs and then the boss. It's his 2 pets because he's the Beastmaster. I kept one of the pets CC'd through the whole fight, and then I DPS'd one of the pets down. Then I DPS'd him. I didn't know if he would enrage or something if I killed both of them anyway. It mostly worked. It's weird. He still does this command where he tells the pets to pounce, and if it's CC'd, it's like laying down asleep. It still pounces while it's asleep and then just lands in the new place and keeps sleeping there, which was kind of weird. But yeah. So in those packs, in any of those areas where you got the bigger packs, where you got like 2 golds or whatever, I was CCing every time. Even though I probably could kill him without doing that if I was, but I was also using responsive safeguards every chance I got. Throwing up my shield. Definitely had to be pulling aggro off of Shay if I left her to her own devices and I focused just on one mob and the rest of them were all shooting Shay. She would have died. So yeah, it's a solid content, solid. It's not super easy. You're not going to breeze through it. Couple comments in the chat room. The world boss. This is something we're going to need to add to MFN. Just go down there and do it. Apparently, the world boss has like millions of health, but doesn't do a lot of damage. And you can, if you're good and geared, you can solo it. Might take you 20 minutes. In fact, it's sounding like if you're a well-geared elite player, it's still going to take you 15 to 20 minutes to solo that world boss. But it's possible. That's interesting. But that also means that we should be able to take any size group down there and be able to get it done, which will be fun. So we'll definitely do that. So let's take a look, just a nice little walkthrough of these dailies and see what we got. So of the 6, did I say 6 or 7? I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but one of them is the 5. So it's 7 dailies. And then the 8th daily is do 5 dailies. So Ani Aranovor, whatever that one is where you sabotage mining equipment. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Yeah. Just walk out. You get to take a good look, which are also decorations that you can get off the rep vendor. Take a good look at the mining equipment. Jump around. You could do it while you're doing other things down there in the quarry area. You have to first sabotage 3 bits of mining equipment. Then you have to grab the explosives. Then you use those explosives on some of the pipes in the waterworks area. There's other missions in the waterworks area. So if you're doing it, do the outside part while you're doing the stuff in the quarry. And then when you need to go in to do this, like the scanning macro binocular one, you'll blow up the water pipe when you do the macro binocular thing. Another easy one that's down there in a quarry, and I think this one gets completely done in the quarry, is 1 Mando's trash. You're basically picking up garbage. 3 fuel canisters, 3 steel plating, and 3 blaster cartridges. Do those while you're sabotaging equipment. Get that stuff done in the quarry. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge around any of the other mobs that are there. You barely have to kill anything. And that's probably these 2 are probably ones where stealth may even make it even a little bit quicker because it's easier just to navigate around or go to some of the areas. Like I did end up killing some packs of stuff, so I could go and click on a fuel canister or something. I think there's enough out there where you wouldn't have to kill anything to get these 2 done. Proving our strength. So this one I don't know if I'll do, because you have to go to basically. So this is kill. You're challenging and killing 4 clan leaders: Grimgot Varad, Shashuk Luth, Daila Hrangir, and Pan Mori. And what you do is when you accept this quest, there's a blue glowing banner. You click on the banner, you set it on fire, and that starts the challenge. And then the named mob pops out and you have to fight it. Not a hard fight, but each of these banners is in a different area. So you got to go hunt down where the banner is. A couple of them are like deep in one of the areas where you're like fighting through a bunch of mobs. So if you can't stealth and get around all those mobs, you end up like killing a ton of Mandos to even get to these things. So I don't know. Maybe on a stealth character, it'll be fast. That's what we'll test out. Otherwise, it's kind of a pain to get to those locations. So the first 2, really fast. This one, not as fast just because it's 4 really disparate locations. Runic Rare Bit. What was this one?
That's the one where you get like the bones and the
the Tyneback, marrow, dewback steaks, and irewing drumsticks. This was not very difficult and probably one I would do easily. And I think most of it you can do outside the one area in the Verdant Valley or whatever that area is called. And I think you could do it relatively quick. There is a bonus to this one though, and the bonus is for each of those 3 animal types, the Tynebacks, the dewbacks, and the irewings, there's like a patriarch, matriarch version of them, a named version of them, and if you kill that one, that's for the bonus. My problem with the bonus was the only reward for the bonus is like 16k credits. So there's a couple of these that have a bonus. I think this one has a bonus, and I think maybe one of the heroics has a bonus. Completely not worth it. I don't even like loot mobs on the ground unless there's like a blue beam coming out of it, or blue beam or higher. So why would I do a bonus for 16,000 credits?
I do not understand that either.
No rep token, no DRMs, no tech frags, nothing else, just 16k credits. Not worth it. Don't bother. It's not. I don't pick. If I saw 16 credits laying on the ground, I wouldn't even dismount to pick it up. Nah. Tres comas club, bro. Do you even trace comas? Snapping the chain. This one is killing Mandos. You may end up just doing this one as you're doing some of the other ones, as you're navigating around. If you need to aggro some of the groups to like be picking up the trash, or you aggro other Mandos while you're trying to kill the 4 named Mandos for the one I said I may or may not skip. So if you do want to do this one, you need 10 regular tags and 5 impressive tags. The impressive tags, I think, come off of like Strongs and Elites. So you got to kill 15 Mandalorians, and some of them need to be Strongs or Elites for this one. So that one's on the fence of how fast that might be. Unconventional methods. This is the mouse droid one. So what's your overall assessment? You're gonna, if you were gonna pick just a couple to do per day, would you include the mouse droid one in that list?
I mean, this is kind of an unfair answer, but I probably wouldn't pick to just do 1 or 2 a day. I probably would just do, since it's so easy to do.
Well, doing 5 gets you the daily, and doing 6 gets you the daily weekly. So yes, I would probably be doing 5.
So like when you said earlier, this quest is a fairly easy quest. I think one thing I like about these dailies is that all the quests are fairly easy. The biggest challenge is just learning your way around, really. Yes.
And again, the relic hunt, I think, will really make that easier, because there's a lot of these like little shortcut jump points that will get you around the map much more easily.
Yeah.
Especially for the heroics, but definitely for the regular dailies too.
Yeah.
But do you like the mouse droid mission? What do you think of it?
I haven't quite decided yet, because I do get caught like 2 or 3 times before I finish it. But I'm not sure if that's because I haven't figured out the pattern yet. I don't think it's random. I know one of the things that catch you, I know his pattern.
Yeah.
So if you know the pattern for like 3 of them, I think there's at least 3 in there, then it might be the kind that you can just run in and do and come out.
Maybe.
We'll see.
I think they each do have a pattern. I think it might be a little bit random. Like one I watched like go past, and he did his lap, and then he went and did it again, but he like turned around in the middle and then like continued on his way. But he didn't do that the other time. So
and there's one that goes all the way around the outside.
So there might be like a patrol route. The problem with these is they each might have a patrol route with maybe a tiny bit of variation, but they're not in sync. So this is the kind of thing where like, well, I got to sit around the corner and I got to wait just because they're out of sync. So I can't just go over there. And then I'm like, oh crap, I got to go back, run away. And I don't know, for some reason I don't like these.
Well, I mean, you can't see, for one thing, you can't see around the corner, right? So
Right.
If
I was trying to like move my camera to like kind of peek.
Right.
And, like,
So if you
poke back.
And they don't have to be right on you to kick you out. They just, like, you don't have to actually be in their telegraph to get kicked out. So, like I said, we'll see.
Right. So I don't mind that there's different that they're trying and throwing in different things, because maybe somebody really likes this kind of mission. It's not my favorite, but that's okay. I don't hate it. So there's that.
I like it better than the kind of mission where you have to get in a vehicle and kill things, but you're like 10 times weaker than you would be if you just killed them as your character.
That's definitely more annoying. Right. Yeah. Get in this tank, but if you would just let me just shoot them, I have a gun right here. I'll just shoot them in the face. No. You're going to get in this elaborate contraption and use, this barely operational flamethrower that has a cooldown of 60 seconds but I have a rocket launcher on my arm. I will just shoot him in the face. No. You don't understand, Scott, how daddy works. Anyway. And then the last daily, was there anything? It's the scan the things. Oh, and then you do need to go. No, yeah, I don't think there's a follow up. I think you just need to scan the 3 things. Is that one of the ones where you scan the 3 things, then you have to like transmit the data? I don't like that part. There's definitely one of the heroics works that way. That's really annoying, and I think this one might work that way too. But you have to go down in the waterworks. So after you do the picking up the garbage, you get the bombs, and you're going to go down to the waterworks to blow up the pipe to finish that one. Grab this backup binocular one, scan the waterworks infrastructure. It's relatively easy to do. If you're stealth, it's going to be really easy to do because you won't have to kill anything down there, which is nice. If you're not stealth there, you will have to be clearing packs or following other people and letting them clear packs, that kind of thing. But you got to use the Mac binoculars, scan 3 things. That will be super easy to know what you need to scan after you do it once. Before you do it the first time, you will have to like look around, figure out what you're supposed to scan. But that's a relatively easy one, and you're going to be down there anyway because you're going to be blowing up one of the water pipes.
That one was annoying to me at first because you scan them and then you go to the far side to do this thing, and then you got to go to the other far side to do this other thing. But then I realized it's not that far.
Right.
It just looks far on the map.
So this is one of the ones where after you're done scanning the 3 things, which are kind of spread out around this waterworks area, then it says, now you need to go transmit the data. And you have to go
analyze
to a specific...
the data.
Oh, you analyze and then transmit. But you have to go to a place and do a thing. One of the heroics is even worse this way. You just have to like go and stand at the edge of a cliff. But in order to get to that edge of the cliff, you have to like kill 10 more packs of elites to get out there. And
I'm not going to like that.
I have quick travel. I could just... Why can't... What do you mean I have to like transmit it? I could go see Lane right now. I could see this button just takes me right to Lane. What do you mean I got to go stand on the edge of the cliff and like give her a phone call from out there? I got no reception in here. I got to go stand up there because I got no reception. It's ridiculous.
Well, the regular daily, not the heroic one where you have to do that. You have to go up and stand in this spot. You're literally right next to the flight master. Or the the quick travel point.
I'm right here
because you can jump down. But
there's all these guys here. We're all here.
If you quick traveled there, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work. I haven't tested it, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not. It seemed like just an excuse to make you have to kill more mobs.
So I did not fall in love with the heroics on Dantooine during the pirate event, and I never. I mean, we did them a few times as a guild, and I did them a few times in parties and stuff, but I never really wanted to do them. So I just got my rep from Dantooine in other ways and didn't worry about the heroics. And I'm feeling like that might be the case here too for me.
The heroics on Dantooine are much more involved and bigger than these ones. These are not those. So it's not as onerous and as involved as what you have to do on Dantooine, which you're basically kind of like going into an instance and doing a whole like kill these 3 sets of mini bosses so that you can get click the 3 consoles to summon the big droid in the middle, and then it's like a 5-minute fight with this big droid, and you're gotta bring down his shield and not get shit. Nothing like that. The 2 of the heroic 2s are basically go and we'll probably do a whole separate podcast on this, but the 2 heroic 2s are more what you would expect is here's an area where there's a bunch of elite mobs. You have to go mess around. You have to go click some things, do some things, but you basically have to do it in the midst of all of these elite mobs and packs of elite mobs with 2 golds and and a strong or 2 strongs, 2 golds and 2 regular ones. So not often an instance. The one heroic 4 is in an instance. You go and like kill a couple beasts outside, and then that leads you to the Beastmaster. But it's easy to get to. It's 1 guy and his 2 pets and 1 fight. So if you're strong enough to finish that fight solo, even though it's a heroic 4, that's an easy one. I'll probably always do that one just because it's fast and easy for me to do. But it is.
It's also kind of reminding me of the heroic 4's missions that are on Makeb. It's like I could do them, but it was tedious.
Yeah.
So I don't like it.
Makeb, people are comparing it to Banan, like some of the Manan heroics. Any of like the traditional heroic 2s where it's elite mobs outside, not in an instance. It's that kind of stuff.
But just to be clear, I don't feel like it's a bad area just because I may end up not doing the heroics. In fact, one of the things I said before they came out with the Manan Daily area is I would like to see an area that was more like CZ-198 and the Black Hole, in that you could just go in there when you felt like playing for a little while and run around and complete a zone. And I feel like this area, Runic, has the potential to be like that. I think it's bigger and it's a little bit more running in and out, but I think it's going to be a good addition.
I think it's definitely not a CZ-198. A CZ-198 is I mean, there's like a rhythm. I don't think they're going to do another CZ-198. And there's like such a rhythm to it. It's probably on par though with like Section X.
No, I think it's easier than Section X. Well, yeah, I think it's easier than Section X.
I like if you include the heroics, I think it might. Well,
I think it's more like Oricon
for Section X.
It's super easy.
Well, it depends.
You just run to the end and jump and shoot the thing and die.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not designed to be done that way. So if you think, I'm thinking like of design. If you do it how it's designed to be done, it's almost like a mini Flashpoint. Because there's like all these packs of mobs, and there's don't cross the beam and get through the door, and then fight the guy at the end, and it's like a one boss Flashpoint. Yes, now it's super easy because you could just run through and throw the grenade, but it's not supposed to be done that way from a design perspective.
The reason I compare it to Oricon is because Oricon is a little bit takes longer, more mobs. But I think Runic is going to be somewhere in between. I don't think Runic is going to be quite as long, take quite as long as Oricon. Right. But I don't know. You can do Oricon pretty quickly now. So
yeah, I don't know. No, I would say Oricon's definitely longer. Because Oricon, again, it's like the regular, and then you go into an instanced area to finish each of like the sub chains.
Yeah, Yavin 4 is definitely more contained, and it feels like even if you haven't done it in a long time, you don't have to think, okay, where was this again? Because just everything's just right there.
Yeah, but still, it is.
I like not everything has to be the same.
Right.
I'm not saying that, but like, I do want. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
I'll be interested to reassess after completing the relic hunt and getting the especially the travel ability and the jump pads and getting used to using those.
So Starry Saver brings up that, that they did do Zyos after CZ198, because I was commenting that I don't think we're going to see a 10-minute, weekly again like we have on CZ198. And maybe Zyos is that. I've never been able to do Zyos very quickly. Maybe I just haven't done it enough to know where everything is.
The instanced heroic aside, Zyos is really fast and easy. There is
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
That instanced heroic part.
It's not a heroic, but it's an instance.
Or whatever. It's like an instance thing. And then the droid, then like the droid's power is running down. You got to pick up another one of the batteries and shove it in the little droid. And that one's not fast. But Zyos is also a little bit of a unique situation because there was not a lot that they could do. Because there's no mobs.
And I do feel like, right, and the things that you do have to kill, there's quite, if there's anybody else doing them, then you have to wait for spawns.
Right. The when you're going after clicking on the droids that are in the little craters and that kind of thing. But still, I agree with you in general. I think it's an interesting area. It's a planet I really like. It's a little bit difficult to get around. I'm not all that used to it yet, so it's a little bit confusing as well. I definitely had to figure out how I was even supposed to go to some of the places I was going to go. And the heroics really today. So I did the dailies yesterday and the heroics today, and I recorded it. The heroics did confound me a little bit in that way. In just trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go, how I'm supposed to get to these locations. I'm like, I took a wrong turn and pretty much had to quick travel out to 2 zones over and drive through again because I took one wrong turn in like one area kind of thing. So Relic Hunt plus learning the maps, getting a feel for it, working through the rep. We'll see by the time that, we're basically champion rep, what it's feeling like. I think it could be pretty smooth, and we'll then be able to circle back and say, hey, here's Seema's stealth tips for getting Runic done. And we'll do that when we do it.
If I ever get one of my stealth characters through the story.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I have I can do a combat style stealth on my Merc, but I just haven't. I mean, I do have one, but I don't know. When I'm on my Merc, I just play my Merc.
Any other sort of tips that you have that you want to sort of throw out there as we're?
I'll just say for the traveling around, if you get frustrated because you can't find things, remember if you have the big map, which is the one that you get when you go M, not Alt M. You can always click on the exits.
Yes.
To look at what's in the next room. And also, another thing I just thought of too is like when you don't know where to go, like sometimes the map doesn't show you necessarily where the objectives are, or you can't see it for whatever reason. Just get on a taxi and go to wherever the green taxi was.
Right. That's another good one.
And then once you get there, then you'll be able to see something.
Yeah.
Sometimes too, if you've completed any of their missions, it'll simplify the map if you just go back and turn in that mission. I know it's not completely efficient to do that, but if you're in your learning phase or whatever, just go back and turn in what you've done already, and that'll clean up the map a little bit.
Yep, that's a good one.
If you're looking at a room that's basically a tunnel, like you're going in one and you can see there's an exit, look out that exit to see if you're just going to end up in the same room again. Because maybe you don't have to go through that tunnel, and then you can skip whatever mobs that are in there.
Right. Or it's like leading you back out to one of the places where there's a quick travel point, and you could just quick travel out.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is an oldie but goodie, but if you don't have them already, get Rocket Boost because of those inside areas.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of areas that you can't mount in. There are some that seem like inside areas where you can mount if you can. There are areas where you can ride through mobs and de-aggro them after, but not all of them. So you're going to have to get used to that too. And you may end up getting yourself into a little bit of trouble. But I was doing that when I was basically my third time through some whatever weird tunnels for the heroics. I was like running through these big packs of elite mobs and aggroing half the map and just riding through and de-aggroing on the other side.
And also back on the droid mouse quest, the mouse droid mission. If you do decide to do that one, don't expect the mouse droid to eat any cheese. He's not that kind of mouse.
I'm not that kind of mouse. How do you know? Have you tried? Did you bring cheese?
I should experiment. Bring some cheese.
There you go. All right. Well, I think that is good for today and a good rundown of Runnook. As I said, there's more to come. There's the heroics. There's the world boss. There's the relic hunt, and there's the secret achievements. So buckle up, hold your breath. We'll probably be circling back next week or the week after on more of this stuff and still having fun with Runnook and more that's out there. So I think with that, we can wrap it up for today, though. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, especially in the chat room. Everyone that's been joining in the audio versions and the versions on Twitch and on YouTube. Our EPC 455 droid is ready to get booted out in airlock. The 455th EPC astromech that we're kicking out for broadcasting this podcast. All the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com. Including the link to our Discord, which we love to sort of shout out there because we're having a lot of fun in there. newoverlords.com/Discord. YouTube/newoverlords is our YouTube channel. That's where we're posting all this stuff, including this and our other podcast, Behind the Games. You can come check out our guild at aie-guild.org. That is where we can get you an invite on Starforged, either the Republic or the Imperial sides. And then we've got feeds in a couple of the other social networks as well. Twitter's a main one where I post, hey, we're going live and that kind of thing. I'm at Max the Gray, and then at The New Overlords is where the general feed is for our channel and everything that's going on as well. But as I said, you can find New Overlords on Instagram and Facebook as well. Who knows? Maybe we'll get on TikTok at some point too. Yeah. So yes, please come join us. Join us in our Discord and the AIE Discord. Jump in our guild. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.